Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video, I'm going to be listing off my top 10 favorite movie trilogies. It was a really hard thing to do, to list this off, because there's so many movie trilogies that I like, so it was really hard to narrow it down to just 10. But I managed to do so. Before I get into the list, I do have one honorable mention. And that's the Back to the Future trilogy. Very good trilogy. I love all three Back to the Future movies equally. I think they're all amazing. Although, unfortunately, they did not make my top 10. But, you know, I am putting that trilogy in as an honorable mention. Alright, so, number 10. Number 10 is the Bad Boys trilogy. Unfortunately, I don't own the third one yet. I have seen the third one. Actually, I saw the third one in theaters. Don't own it yet, though. But yeah, I love all three movies. All of them were really, really good. I think Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are one of the best comedy duos. Yeah, just a really great blend of action and comedy throughout these movies. I absolutely love it. But yeah, just need to get the third one. But yeah, the Bad Boys trilogy is at number 10. Alright. Number 9. Number 9 is a kind of underrated trilogy, in some aspect. And that is the, original Aladdin trilogy. Of course, you know, the first one, Return of Jafar, and, King of Thieves. Now, of course, everyone praises the first one, which they should, because the first one is an absolute classic. But then with the other two, for some reason, people just pretend they don't exist. This one is definitely the darkest Aladdin movie ever made. Hell, even though it's a kid's film, it is pretty dark. It's a pretty dark sequel. Yeah, the bad guy almost wins, Aladdin is very close to not winning, in this movie, so close. So yeah, they really trick you and actually make you think that, you know, Jafar is gonna win. But yeah, a very underrated, sequel. Now, out of the three Aladdin movies, the Return to Jafar is the, that's the other one, sorry. Wait, is it? Nope, there it is, sorry. Return to Jafar is the one I'm least familiar with, mostly because, when I was growing up, I only had these two. Now, originally I had this on VHS tape, lost the VHS tape, but I still have this on VHS tape. Now, as a kid, I was only familiar with these two movies for whatever reason. It wasn't until years later that I discovered, the existence of Return to Jafar. But yeah, I mean, even though I only grew up with the first and third movies, I still really love this movie as well. Very underrated. And I think why the sequels are overlooked for the most part is because Disney has had a very bad reputation of releasing extremely horrible or boring, you know, sequels to their animated movies, especially with the classic stuff. Not talking about, you know, the remakes or anything, but the actual straight-to-video sequels. A lot of them are pretty bad, or at the very least boring. But these two sequels are some of the very few straight-to-video Disney sequels that are actually really good. But yeah, the original Aladdin trilogy is at number 9. Alright. Alright, number 8. Number 8 is the X-Men trilogy. Yeah, I love this trilogy. I do not like the other movies. The other movies aren't even really part of the same series. They're sort of, the first one that was after this trilogy was pretty much a soft reboot. And then the movies after that followed that, you know, a sort of soft reboot kind of movie. Yeah, the original storyline ended with, The Last Stand. A lot of them after, are either reboots or prequels and stuff. But the prequel, like X-Men First Class or something, is not a prequel to the original trilogy. It's a prequel to the soft reboot that came after this. But yeah, I'm not a fan of those movies. But I do love the original X-Men trilogy. Of course, the first one, an absolute masterpiece. The second one is is probably my favorite of the bunch. I don't know. These first two are extremely good. But yeah. Also, the third one is extremely overhated. I don't understand the hate for this movie. I think it works really, really well. And I absolutely love, the battle scenes in here. I love the story. The characters are really, really good. The only thing I find kind of weird about this movie is the villainization of the Jean Grey character. I think it's just out of the blue, random, and it just doesn't really make any sense. But as for the rest of the movie, again, I do enjoy it. I love this movie as well as the other two, and I think yeah, there he is. Kelsey Grammer as Beast is amazing. But yeah, the X-Men trilogy is at number 8. Number 7. Number 7 is most people's either number 1 or number 2, and that's the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now as for the continuation, or I guess the prequel trilogy, the Hobbit trilogy, I don't mind those movies. I think they're okay. I think, the, Smog one, for some reason I can't remember the name, Rise of Smog or whatever. Desolation of Smog, there we go, Desolation of Smog. I think that movie's probably the best of those 3. But as for the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, I think they're all amazing. I don't really prefer one over the other, mainly because it's, it's a continuous story, so it doesn't really seem fair to pick one over the other. But yeah, I like all 3 of these equally. Although I will say, in my opinion, the most entertaining one is definitely the first one. Just a little bit more humor. The other 2 parts get a little bit darker, a little bit more serious, but this one does have a bit of humor in the first part. But yeah, I love the characters. Of course, the One Ring, one of the best, plots in a movie ever. Sauron, one of the greatest movie villains. Although I do think Sauron is extremely underused. I think, I think, like, if they would have made him, like, somewhat more of a physical threat, I think maybe then, he would work a little bit better. Great villain, just very underused for some reason. But yeah, all in all, I absolutely love this series. Yeah, it's at my number, yeah, I'm number 7. Sorry, I lost count there, but it's at my number 7 spot. Number 6. Number 6 is the 80s, straight-to-video Scooby Doo trilogy. Of course, it's consisting of Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers, Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School, and Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. Yeah, an extremely underrated Scooby Doo movie trilogy. I don't know why. I find a lot of people either, not knowing that this trilogy exists, or for the people that do, they bash these movies for some ridiculous reasons, like, oh, it's not the entire Scooby Gang, oh, Scrappy Doo's in these movies, or, oh, they're just kind of boring and bland. I don't understand any of those criticisms, to be honest. And Scrappy Doo is one of the most overhated characters in all of fiction. Honestly, I don't see the reason for the hate. Honestly, he's never really annoyed me that much. The only really stupid portrayal of him, in my opinion, is him being the villain in the first live-action Scooby Doo movie. I think that's kind of weird. But honestly, the rest of the iterations of Scrappy Doo, I don't mind. I actually think, you know, in certain iterations, he's kind of entertaining, such with in these trilogy of movies, as well in the, I'd say, first season of Scooby Doo and Scrappy Doo, as well as in the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. Yeah, I love this trilogy. And also, kind of like the Aladdin trilogy, growing up I was only familiar with 2 of the movies. The first 2, of course, Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers and the Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. These are still the VHS tapes that I had when I was a kid. The reason why this is on DVD is because I got this years later. Again, I wasn't really familiar with this movie until years later. I didn't know it was a thing. But yeah, I'd say this is definitely the weakest of the trilogy, but it's still entertaining. Of course, these 2 hold a special place in my heart because I did grow up with these movies. And also, this was the first Scooby-Doo related thing I ever saw, so of course this has a lot of nostalgia with it. Yeah, I love these movies. I love this one, how it's like a sort of a treasure hunt type movie with the supernatural element thrown in. I love this one where they are technically, you know, teachers of a school full of, you know, monsters. I think that's really, really cool. And I love sort of the race theme in this one. It's really, really cool. But yeah, this is, God, I lost count again. What the hell? 10, 9, 8. Yeah, sorry, number 7. I meant number 7. For some reason I thought it was at number 8, but no. Yeah, anyway. The 80s Scooby-Doo trilogy is at number 7. Number 6. The Lost Boys trilogy. Not counting this. Not counting this movie here. That's not part of the. That's Queen of the Damned. It's not part of the trilogy. But yeah, the Lost Boys trilogy. The Lost Boys, Lost Boys the Tribe, and Lost Boys the Thirst. Oh, there we go. But yeah, I love this trilogy. Sure, everyone praises the first Lost Boys movie. Again, they should, because it's such a great movie, such a classic. But I see people ignoring the Lost Boys, the Tribe, and Lost Boys, the Thirst for some reason. Again, I think some of it is the mindset of, oh, it's straight to video, that means it's bad. And that's not the case a lot of the times. A lot of times, yeah, sure, there's straight to video movies that are bad, but other times there's straight to video, here's the thing, straight to video can mean bad in terms of, oh, the people who made the movie knew it wasn't too good, so, you know, they didn't bother releasing it in theaters. But a lot of times, a lot of the reason why there's like movies that are good that are straight to DVD or video, whatever, is because of poor marketing. Like a lot of times, in terms of the good stuff, it is because of sorry, I'm stumbling with my words for some reason. It is because of poor marketing half the time, because, you know, there's just some times where the marketing teams are just extremely stupid. And I think that's definitely what the case with the second and third Lost Boys movies. They're great movies, but they weren't put in theaters, most likely because the people running their marketing team were absolute morons. But yeah, I love all 3 of those. Although, unpopular opinion, I think that the Lost Boys The Thirst is the best Lost Boys movie. I absolutely love it. You know, I think it's pretty much a great way to end the trilogy, and I think it's the best Lost Boys movie. Definitely has the best. It completes the character arc of both Edgar and Alan Frog. Edgar Frog is definitely the most badass in this movie. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. But yeah, the whole entire trilogy is great, although, like I said, unpopular opinion, I think the third one is the best. But yeah. Alright. At number... Hold on, let me get this out really quick. There we go. Hold on, I have a huge pile of stuff. Give me a second. Alright, number 5. Number 5 is the Librarian movie trilogy. An extremely underrated set of movies. I believe, were they made for TV? I honestly, yeah, they were made for TV movies, which eventually got released on a triple pack. Now, for those who don't know about this trilogy, it's a really good sort of action adventure trilogy that there's this guy who Flynn Rider, who gets a job at a library that is secretly the base of like this a secret organization that guards mystical artifacts, such as the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, Pandora's box. Like it's just he joins this again this I guess this like these guardians of the most sort of powerful mystical artifacts in history. And he goes on these quests to acquire more artifacts to protect. In the first one, they go after some kind of mystical spear. In the second one, they try to find this sort of, I guess, book of knowledge that's hidden in King Solomon's mines. And then in the third one, they go after this cursed chalice that I guess grants immortal life, and there's like vampires and stuff. It's really, really cool. I absolutely love it. In terms of legendary status, in my opinion, it actually rivals the Indiana Jones trilogy. Again, unpopular opinion I have, but I think this trilogy is actually slightly better, ever so slightly better than the Indiana Jones trilogy, not counting that horrible fourth movie that, I would just pretend doesn't exist. But yeah, I absolutely love this trilogy. Alright, let me get this. Number 3. Number 3 is the Brendan Fraser Mummy trilogy. Yeah, that's not the first one. There we go. I have these in order of the shelf, not in order which I put them down, so they're all a mess. Anyway, the first one, it holds a special place in my heart because it was the first Mummy movie I ever saw, and so I have a little bit of nostalgia with this movie. But honestly, I think most of the stuff in this trilogy holds up very well. Sure, there's some CGI here and there that's not too good, especially with the wall of sand with Imhotep's face in it. But despite that, these are movies that know these are directors that have these movies that know not to take anything seriously because it's just supposed to be some fun action adventure stuff with some horror elements thrown in. And it really, really works. Of course, the first one's my favorite, but I also like these other two. The only complaints I have is with this one, for some reason they're in China, and it does not continue the story of the first two, as well as the only complaint I have about this one besides that is the fact that they recast Evie with someone else for some bizarre reason. But despite those minor criticisms, I think these movies hold up pretty well. Except for the horrible CGI of the Scorpion King at the end of this movie. But, that doesn't really bother me because just the characters, the acting, just the overall movies themselves are just so much fun to watch. But yeah, I absolutely love this trilogy. But yeah, it's at number 3. Alright, number 2. Number 2 is the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Yes, even the third one, which is extremely overhated, and it shouldn't be, because it's such a good movie. Yeah, sure, a lot of shit was thrown in, and it kind of feels like a mess at times, but honestly, I could look past that because it is extremely entertaining. And sure, people might complain about Emo Parker, but, whatever. It's just another silly moment in a trilogy of silliness, It's another film trilogy, just like with The Mummy, where they don't take anything too seriously, It's just meant to entertain, and I think that the movies do that job really, really well. Of course, you got some amazing, actors in the roles of these characters. Tobey Maguire is the best Peter Parker / Spider-Man. William Dafoe is the one and only film Green Goblin that matters. I don't care about that really stupid attempt at a Green Goblin in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. That was the Amazing Spider-Man 1. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is amazing. Just everyone does an amazing job in these movies. Everyone really tries to, take the role to the next level, their roles, and just make it so fun and entertaining. And of course, one of the best casted roles ever, J.K. Simmons, what the fuck? No, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. He's just perfect. And of course, so many memes and so many YouTube poops have been made of that character in those scenes because he's hysterical to watch. I'd say my favorite scene with him is in the second Spider-Man movie. It's actually in a deleted scene where he gets Spider-Man's a costume and he puts it on and starts acting like Spider-Man and stuff. It's really funny. But yeah, I absolutely love this film trilogy, and I don't understand. I mean, I do somewhat understand the criticisms of this movie, but honestly, I could look over that. But yeah. Alright, and of course, my favorite film trilogy of all time, the original Star Wars trilogy. 3 perfect films. There hasn't been another trilogy of 3 perfect films ever. Yeah, sure, you could probably say, Lord of the Rings or Back to the Future, but I do have some criticisms with certain aspects of those movies, whereas these 3 movies I don't really have any issue with, especially with these unaltered versions, This is the 1995 box set of the VHS tapes before George Lucas decided to tamper with the films for these special editions. But yeah, I love this trilogy. It's so iconic, so great. Really, it's just one of those things not trilogies, but set of movies overall that really has aged well over time. Like, I don't think anything has, aged badly on these movies. The acting is superb from everyone involved. The set design is great, the costume design, and there's the overarching story of good versus evil, and about Luke Skywalker trying to redeem the so-called lost Anakin Skywalker, I love how Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker, at first thinks, there is no redeeming himself, there is no going back, until Luke intervenes in the end of the Return of the Jedi and, actually proves him wrong, that he can be redeemed. I just love the overarching story. Yeah, just a perfect set of movies that is, in my opinion, the best, movie trilogy of all time. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.